Did you know that over 400,000 of the internet computer supply has been removed this year so far? And keep in mind, we're still at around halfway through 2026. So it's been burned basically. But this begs a question, right? And the question is, why still, even despite that, why is the price still at around $2? Now, I'll give my hypotheticals in today's video, even though I am not telling anyone to do anything, and this is just my personal perspective, and nothing I say is financial advice. So again, over 400,000 of the internet computer supply has been burned so far this year, which means that in total, almost 3 million has been burned throughout the existence of this, right? In which case, people like to say, well, again, why hasn't that affected the price charts in any sort of significant way? Well, it's because while that may be quite a lot, it would take many, many years of a sustained and consistent effort in order to really make a meaningful difference when it comes to the supply. And in which case, we take a look at Mission 70, and that recently got kind of cleared, right? In which case, it was this strategic plan to cut the internet computer inflation by up to 70% by the end of 2026. We've already seen that, in which case we're seeing it work to a certain extent. Keep in mind, approximately almost 16% of the total burned so far throughout its lifetime, it was actually burned just in this year alone, which showcases to me that it's basically pretty massive thing, right? Imagine just halfway through 2026 and already almost 16% of the entire amount that was burned throughout its whole existence basically occurred this year. So that's kind of impressive. But in the grand scheme of things, if we take a look at it, even almost 3 million of the internet computer supply that is, being burned basically, or has been burned, I should say, it actually only represents approximately 0.5% of the supply. So it's not even 1%. Again, in order for this to make any sort of real impact, it needs to be sustained over many, many years, in which case they are making efforts to do that. So the important thing is the effort, right? This can't just happen overnight. There's still ongoing inflation through other ways when it comes to the internet computer. Like for instance, we take a look at through voting rewards, node provider rewards and all this. So it's not like inflation has been eliminated when it comes to this. No, that's not the case. But again, they're at least putting the effort. And we've seen many projects in the past. Initially when they try to aggressively burn a lot of tokens, sometimes it can't really do much initially. But again, the small steps, eventually they lead somewhere. And the internet computer, again, we're seeing the small steps there. So this is going to be a long-term effort. It can't just happen overnight. So that's why when people say, oh, that much has been burned, why hasn't the internet computer in terms of price, appreciated in sort of a significant way as of late? Well, again, that's not how it works. And also, even a reduced supply doesn't mean good demand, in a sense where, let's say, for whatever reason, in a pure hypothetical, the internet computer became deflationary. Let's say that is the case, which it isn't, but I'm just saying hypothetically. Now, if that is, for whatever reason, the situation, even at a time like right now, it wouldn't really do much just because the demand overall isn't the best. It's like, for instance, the whole market isn't doing the best, right? So what's going to happen? The internet computer is suddenly going to have good demand? No, it's just not going to work that way. It's like, for instance, a piano. I mean, it's a cool musical instrument, right? But imagine, try putting a piano in that place in which Tom Hanks was stuck at in the movie Castaway, and look at if he would play the piano. I think that would probably be one of the last things that he would think about. I mean, his focus is getting out of there, not playing a piano. A piano in and of itself is cool, but try putting it in that place in which Tom Hanks again was stuck in the movie Castaway. No one's really going to care about it. Their goal is to leave, right? So when it comes to in this space as of right now, the internet computer is as if it's like a piano, but then it's stuck in the middle of nowhere. No one's really going to care about it unless, eventually something happens. And, the only way for the sentiment to change is that if, let's say, a city was built there and the sentiment became good again, then that piano starts having an actual value, right? But if not, it just won't really do much if it's just stuck in the middle of nowhere. So again, if the internet computer has good things going on for it, doesn't really matter actually. Whatever happens, if the whole market overall isn't doing the best, then it just simply won't do the best. But again, at least I want to see the effort, because if Dfinity is putting this much effort to actually have measures to remove the supply, even though it hasn't been too much in the grand scheme of things, but still, As long as they have this effort, this is eventually going to matter for the long haul. And again, this space isn't like for, I guess, a short-term or medium-term mindset, at least personally for me. That's not the way I would take a look at it, just because, again, if we take a look at projects trying to burn, their supply, they're going to do it sometimes very slowly. It could take years. When they want to develop something, it could take years. When they try to launch something, it could take years. So this space is not for the short term, at least personally for me. If my mindset was, oh, I only want to be here for the short term, then I wouldn't want to be in this space, simply put. But because I don't mind waiting for years, then I don't mind. It's like, let's say I want to make a chicken pot pie from scratch. Like, let's say I want to make it from the beginning. It's probably going to take a lot more time than had I tried to make instant noodles, right? So again, there's a difference there. This space is more so like a chicken pot pie. It's going to take quite a while in some hypothetical cases. It's not like, instant noodles, if that kind of makes sense. But yeah, besides that point, the internet computer, there is still at least things going on for it. Like in the case of Dfinity, they're looking to launch multi-dex. They're looking to launch cloud engines. They already have Caffeine AI version 3. There's already OIC version 2.5. I mean, they're doing things. It's not like they're being lazy. And again, some other projects out there, they might never want to do any of that type of stuff, but I'm seeing that effort when it comes to Dfinity, which I think is pretty commendable, and I think it's pretty impressive to see at a time like right now. Now, keep in mind, the internet computer is still at around $2, right? I mean, that's no secret. Its all-time low is $1.98. So we're basically at all-time low levels. So could you imagine this? We're basically hovering at levels in which was literally approximately around the lowest it's ever been in history, right? Because again, if the all-time low is $1.98, and right now it's like around $2.07 or whatever, it might change a little bit by the time I upload this video, but I'm just saying approximately that. We're so close to the all-time low. In which case, I don't know if that's necessarily upsetting for me because I don't take a look at it that way. In a sense where if, let's say for whatever reason, in a random hypothetical, if I was able to go back in time, which I can't, but I'm just saying in a random hypothetical, if I did and I was able to dollar cost average into like Solana or like Ethereum or whatever at all-time low levels, would I be angry or upset as of right now? I don't think I would, right? Because I'd be like, whoa, okay, I mean, sure, Ethereum and Solana has had a pullback, but compared to its all-time low, But, I mean, that's just something I think about sometimes. And now, is there any telling as to what the internet computer is going to for sure do moving forward? There's no way. But one thing I do know, though, is that if I just take a look at the charts, so I'm just going off of a baseline in which the internet computer has achieved before in the past. Like, for instance, in November of last year, it was at around $9. So that automatically means that going back to there, we're around 4.5 times away. No, we've already seen that happen before. And then in 2024, we've seen approximately almost $19, in which case, going back to there, it's around a 9 times journey. That's just from what we've seen before. So that's just not, some random number we've never seen. No, we've seen that before. And comparatively speaking, even right now compared to that, we're very far away. Like for many other projects out there, if they, for whatever reason, did around a 4.5 times movement or around a 9 times movement, it would already be considered like so legendary. Like for instance, imagine if, let's say in a random hypothetical, Ethereum were to do some random like journey and then the peak of it was like around 9 times away or around 4.5 times away from where it is as of right now for whatever make-believe reason. If it did that type of movement, could you imagine like how many people would start talking about Ethereum? They would think like, oh wow, it's one of the most legendary things ever. But then suddenly, if their computer were to go back to $9, which is again around a 4.5 times journey, or let's say go back to around $19, which is around a 9 times journey, if it were to do that, it's suddenly considered boring. It doesn't make any sense to me because it just, like, how does that even make sense, right? Why would it be exciting for another project, but not exciting for a certain other project, like let's say in the case of the internet computer? It just doesn't make sense. If I'm happy with like a hypothetical 2 times or 3 times movement for whatever reason for a more massive project, then I view it no different here. Because the way you take a look at it is like the end goal is the same, right? In a sense where if my end goal is to just, eat good food, it almost doesn't really matter what restaurant it is. As long as it's good food, then I'll like it. You know what I mean? So it doesn't really matter because the end goal is kind of the same. You know, like some of my friends out there, like they say they would be hypothetically happy with like around a 3 or 2 times movement or whatever, but they say it's only going to be happy for them if it's for a specific project. But how does that make sense? If the end goal is just a movement of that much, right? It doesn't matter, right? From what project it is. Like, I just don't get why it would be any different. But yeah, I'm not telling anyone to do anything. But again, this is just my thoughts as of right now. So I'm still waiting, I'm still holding, but I am not telling anyone to do anything. And I'll be sure to make more updates moving forward when it comes to the internet computer. So hopefully y'all stay tuned for that.